Ricci. I wrote a book about catering to the mob. It's a true story about my life in Brooklyn, in an area called Bath Beach. It happened to be a Mafia stronghold. That's where a lot of Mafia people, or allegedly Mafia people, lived. I knew them. They came to my restaurant. They had catering affairs, baptisms, weddings, engagement parties, 50-year-old anniversaries, and so forth. Excellent customers. They paid their bills. They smiled and they said thank you. This is the book. It'll be on Amazon soon, and you can order it directly. It's called Catering to the Mob, and it says growing up in Bath Beach. So really, it's a story about my life in Bath Beach as I grew up and got into the restaurant business, catering business. I have pretty good credentials. I had the restaurant when I was 27 years old. It was called the Via Appia, which is the Appian Way in Rome. And it was built over 2,000 years ago, and it's still in effect. They build roads today, and in 5 years they have to rebuild them. So there's something wrong about that whole idea. All right, the book is a story. It's a true story. But in the back of the book, I have 21 recipes that we used in the Via Appia, and I'm going to show you shortcuts. You don't have to make sauce on Sunday morning and start at 7 o'clock and wait until noon before the sauce is ready. We're going to use a prepared sauce that's excellent. I'm going to show you how to do it. This is designed for you to cook at home and to have fun. When you cook, it's supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be a chore. This is not supposed to be something, oh my God, I got to cook dinner or I got to cook for the family. So what I suggest you do, you drink a little wine when you're working, like this. Ah, terrific. And you get feeling good. Okay. In the book, each page has a special recipe. There are 21 recipes. And then there are 3 recipes for famous Italian cakes. Cassata, which is Sicilian. Zuppa Inglese, which is Napolitan, and Italian rum cake. That's also in the book, and it's like a bonus. The book will give you some idea of how I interacted with these people that came to my restaurant. Like I said, you could order it on Amazon, and there'll be other companies that are going to be handling it soon, hopefully Barnes & Noble and maybe Walmart. Okay, now, catering to the mob is not a mob story. It's not about the mafia. It's about how I evolved living in that neighborhood that was perfectly safe. We never had to worry about a break-in, a stolen car, because it was a safe neighborhood. And it's in the book, and it tells you all the different things I did, where I went to school, and so forth. That's my credentials. First, I had the restaurant in Brooklyn called Via Appia. Then I managed the Huntington Yacht Club in Huntington, Long Island. It's the second oldest yacht club in America, and it's considered the most prestigious yacht club in the country. People from Wall Street, second and third generation, belong to the Huntington Yacht Club. After the Huntington Yacht Club, I was a general manager of the East 58th Street Spaghetti and Macaroni Factory. That's some big long name, so we called it the Factoria. It was the largest Italian restaurant in New York City. It was on 58th Street and 5th Avenue. It was right across the street from the Plaza, Central Park, and what's now Trump Tower. It used to be the GM building. We had over 380 seats, and we did big volume, and we specialized in pasta, obviously. Pasta. And I moved to Florida, and I bought the Pasta Palace, which was a big restaurant in Lake Worth, Florida, from Phil Romano. Phil Romano is the creator of Fuddruckers, and he's also the creator of Romano's Macaroni Grill at the airport. Phil Romano and I were good friends, and when I took over his restaurant, the Pasta Palace, we turned it into Horse Feathers, which was a play on words from the Groucho Marx movie. And we showed silent movies while people ate. We were the most unique restaurant in Florida. Nobody else was doing this. We had a regular movie theater, and we showed silent films. Buster Keaton, Laurel and Hardy, et cetera, while people were eating. So that was an interesting side. when I went to law school in California, I had a restaurant in Mission Valley, which was the hub of downtown San Diego. The name of the restaurant was Strawberry. And when the restaurant was opened, it was considered an upscale gourmet restaurant, and it was an emphasis on organic food. And that was the beginning of that whole organic food craze. It was interesting. And then we had another restaurant in Pacific Beach, which was just outside of San Diego, and that was called the Bakery. And the reason for that, as you walked into the restaurant, there was a bakery, and we specialized in cinnamon buns. And when you sat at the table, we gave you 1 or 2 or 3 cinnamon buns, depending on how many people sat at the table. And that was to get you started, and was also designed to fill you up. So it had a two-way purpose. Anyway, the food business is interesting, it's difficult, and it changes, it evolves. Okay? People don't want to stay like grandma, get up Sunday morning at 6 o'clock and make the gravy. Italians don't call tomato sauce gravy. They don't call tomato sauce. They call tomato sauce gravy. So I'm going to show you what we're going to use today, an excellent product. It's called Paisana Sicilian gravy. If you go to a supermarket, none of the pasta sauces use the word gravy. They all say tomato sauce, basil, garlic, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to show you what we're going to use today. We're going to use, this is a terrific company, by the way. We talked to them, and we tried their products, and the products are good. There's no artificial ingredients in here. There's no sugar in here. It's just made the way Grandma used to make it. When I had this restaurant in Brooklyn, in Bath Beach, my competition wasn't the other restaurants. We had probably the best restaurant in that whole area. It was Bath Beach, Bensonhurst, and Bay Ridge, and Dyker Heights. What we were competing with was Grandma. We competed with every wise guy's grandmother who cooked Italian food, obviously. So everybody would come in, and the challenge was, it was as good as Grandma's, or Grandma's was better, her meatballs were bigger, her meatballs were smaller. You know, we went through this every day, and after a while it got to be a joke. Because if Grandma was such a great cook, then go to Grandma's to eat. You don't have to come to my restaurant. We did a lot of work, and we did some big, big catering jobs, which were very difficult, because we had to bring all the equipment in with the waiters, the waitresses, busboys, and then take all the equipment back when we're done. The biggest catering job we did at the Mafia was 1,300 lunches at a Catholic church that was opening a school, a grammar school. And they asked us to come in and serve all the people that contributed to the creation of this school. And 1,300. You could imagine what it's like to cook for 1,300 people and get the food out warm or hot without spilling stuff. And there was a lot of things that happened, a lot of accidents. I created one major accident. I dropped a pot with about 15 gallons of peas, and they went all over the floor. And it's in the book. You'll get a good laugh out of this. There's a lot of funny things in here. And they really happened. I can tell you for sure, anything in here is true. So if you buy the book and you like it, when you go to the back of the book, we have all the recipes in color with the ingredients that you need to use and how you cook it. So what I'm going to show you today is just a simple way of cooking something for dinner, for a party. And what I'm going to use tonight is, or today, is we're going to call it penne pasta alla Siciliana. What does that mean? Penne pasta, Sicilian style, with eggplant. Well, I've been all over the world. I've traveled to the Middle East, Europe. I've been to Italy about 10 times. And I noticed that when I went to the southern part of Italy, the Campania region, Naples, and Bari, and then Sicily, they use a lot of eggplant. Eggplant and olives, great stuff, delicious taste. So what we're going to do today, we're going to cook penne pasta alla Siciliana. I'm going to show you the tricks, how to do it quickly without having to do a lot of work. And if you do my recipe and you do the way I suggest, You could cook the whole meal in about 30 minutes. This is not a whole day affair like grandma. This is something that you can do easily and enjoy it. Now, like I said before, have a glass of wine while you're cooking. The other thing I think you should do is turn on the music, some Italian music like
When the Moon Hits Your Eye Like a Big Pizza Pie, that's some more.
Right, that's terrific. I went to San Francisco and I went to a show where they did that. I thought it was the funniest thing I've ever seen. So you drink the wine and you get ready to rock and roll. So here we're going to do it. Penny. Penne pasta alla Siciliana with eggplant. You buy an eggplant, make sure it's firm. All right, no brown spots in it. If there's a brown spot, don't buy it because there's something wrong with the eggplant. It's going to spoil. This is what we do. We cut the top of the eggplant off, just like this, and then we cut the back off, like that. That's it. That's what the eggplant looks like. Now what we do is we cut the eggplant in half. When you cook, always use a sharp knife. I never cook without sharpening the knife first. I just sharpen the knife. Here we go. We're going to cut the eggplant in half. And then we're going to cut the half in half again. So now we have quarters. So now we have 4 quarters of eggplant. This is really simple stuff. Now, what we do is we turn the eggplant on its side and we make them about an inch and a half thick, just like this. And obviously when you do this, you're going to end up with triangles. See? The eggplant's a triangle. Leave the skin on. Don't take the skin off. People say, oh, I don't like the skin. Cook the eggplant with the skin, you get to like it because that's the way it holds the whole thing together. You take the skin off, it'll fall apart. So what we do is we cut the eggplant just like I showed you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Next, we take the eggplant and we dip it in flour, seasoned flour. So what I use for seasoned flour, I used an herb, it's on the market, you can buy it any place, any brand you want with no salt. Then I use another, it's a complete seasoning and it has salt in it. Don't use too much because you don't want to make it salty. The tomato sauce that we're going to use is the right taste. It's not too salty, it's not too hot, it's really delicious. So don't ruin the sauce by putting in too much. Okay. All right. When we have the eggplant in the flour, all it's doing is giving it a coating. It's no big deal. And what we do is we fry it. Now, the other day we tried it. Somebody called me and they said, well, how much oil are you supposed to use? All right. So this is what we do. We get a pot like this. We don't need a frying pan. We don't need a fryolator. You put about an inch of oil in the bottom of the pot. I use a stainless steel pot. Okay. We turn the heat on. When the oil is ready, this is how you test it. You get a drop of water on your finger from the sink, and you just drop it into the oil. If the oil is ready, you'll go, if it's not ready, it won't make that noise. When it sizzles, the oil is ready to go. Okay? Now, this is seasoned flour. You could use any kind of flour you want. I generally eat gluten-free, so I buy gluten-free flour. It's more expensive. You can use almond flour. This is just regular pancake mix flour, and what I did is we add the all-purpose seasoning to the flour, just like this, okay? And then you put some unsalted seasoning, just like that. And then what you do is you just mix it up. Let me get a fork here. Here again, the point I'm trying to drive home here, you could cook a real fancy schmancy meal with little effort if you just follow my routine. I've been doing this for a long time. The restaurant in New York, when it was to full capacity, had almost 500 seats. You could imagine what it's like cooking pasta for 500 seats, 500 people at the same time. It's a lot of work. Okay, so we just mix up the flour. So the seasoning is in, and now we take the eggplant, which is put it in the flour. You're just going to coat the outside. The eggplant is floured, and now we're going. I like using corn oil or peanut oil. Peanut oil, in my opinion, based on my experience, is the best oil to use for frying. For example, Nathan's in Coney Island, New York, in my opinion, when I was a kid, made the best French fries. The French fries from Nathan's make McDonald's French fries look second rate because they had a special season, they had a special way of doing it. And I went there and I spent the day following everybody around the kitchen, and they told me what the secret was. One of the secrets was they only fry in peanut oil. But you don't have to buy peanut oil. You could buy corn oil. Just don't buy regular cheap vegetable oil because it breaks down. When the oil is hot, it breaks down and it really doesn't do a good job. But the corn oil will hold up. Don't forget now, you drop the water in there.
And you go, and when it gets that, you know it's ready to go.
So we're going to fry the eggplant, and then we're going to put it on a paper towel to get the oil to absorb into the paper so it's not a greasy thing. And now I'm going to show you how we're going to make the sauce that gets the eggplant. When you cook, you need the basic tools to do it properly. Use a slotted spoon when you fry the eggplant so that when you take it out of the oil, it's not greasy and it doesn't go all over the place. So the oil is ready. I put the water in it and it sizzled. It made it, oh, here we go. So we put 2 or 3 pieces of eggplant in the oil like that. It doesn't take long. And you don't want to kill the eggplant. You just want the eggplant to turn golden brown, okay? You don't want to burn it. If you burn it, it'll get bitter and it will not be good for your sauce, okay? All right. All right, so we're going to cook the eggplant. I'll show you what it looks like when it's ready. All right, so the eggplant is frying in the corn oil. I recently read it. I read a lot of cookbooks, and one of the cookbooks said that the eggplant, when it's fried or when it's cooked, it absorbs a lot of oil. Of all the vegetables, like zucchini and so forth, the eggplant eats up the most amount of oil, but that's why it tastes so good. Okay, so we're doing the eggplant now. I'm going to show you what it looks like when it's completely fried. Golden brown on both sides. Don't burn it. Okay, we set that aside now. Okay, what I did before we started, we have a pot, a big pasta pot with water, salt, and a little olive oil. People say, why do you put oil in pasta water? Well, the theory behind that is that sort of pasta, when you put it in, doesn't stick. Whether that's true or not, I'm not sure, but I do it anyway. Okay. I remember once there was a recipe for roast beef, and the woman said to cook the roast beef, you cut that much off the bottom of the roast beef before you put it in the oven. So finally, I asked her, I said, why do you cut the piece off? She said, I don't know. So we found out that Grandma had a pot that was so small that the roast beef didn't fit, so she had to cut the end off. It didn't make any sense at all, but they kept on doing it because nobody ever challenged why. This is what I'm telling you. All right, now we're going to do this. We're going to do the actual sauce now. See what we're going to do now? These are all the ingredients, the olive oil, the eggplant, and so forth. Now we're going to do, on the back of each photo, it says, fry the eggplant in quarters, gently fry the eggplant until golden brown. Place on a drain, we already sprinkled salt. In a large frying pan, a cup of oil, garlic, and some seasoning, and now we're going to make the sauce, okay? Really simple stuff. What you need to understand, this is not difficult. This is not a big deal. And when you do it 3 or 4 times, or 3 or 4,000 times, like I've done, you're going to be real comfortable with it. Have some more wine. Okay, the eggplant should be ready by now. Okay, we're just going to turn it over one time so that you get both sides cooked evenly. It's almost ready. Good. You can see it from the above camera that the oil is bubbling. Everything's nice and hot, and the eggplant is just about ready. Making the eggplant cook properly is important because if you cook it too much, it'll fall apart. Then you don't get the benefit of eating the eggplant. You only get the benefit of eating mush, and you don't want to do it that way, okay? Now, I'm going to open the Sicilian gravy. Now, there's a whole bunch of different ones here. There's roasted garlic, tomato and basil, vodka sauce, which is terrific. And then we have piccata sauce, which you could use for chicken and other items, or veal. And then we have some spicy stuff that they make. It's really good. I have a recipe for that too. So we're just going to open up this this sauce, okay? Now, this should be ready. It is ready, okay. So we take the eggplant, put it on a paper towel so that the oil drains into the, I didn't cook the whole eggplant, I just did it to show you how it works, okay? Eggplant is ready. Now, what did I tell you on my recipe? You take the all-purpose seasoning and you just sprinkle it on like that. And then, of course, you're going to do the whole eggplant. You're going to get a lot of pieces. Out of each piece of eggplant, you get 5. You get 5, 10, 4, 20. You're going to get about 20 pieces, which is going to be enough to serve 4 or 5 people. So what we're going to do in the meantime, now we're going to turn the water on, which I had on from before. Don't forget the salt and the olive oil in the water before you cook it. Okay. So what we're going to do, this is going to come to a boil now. We're going to put the pasta in. Now this is critical. You have to do everything timing. That's the key to cooking, is timing. You can't cook something and then have to wait a half an hour for something else, because then it's going to get cold or something's going to happen and it's not going to taste right. Okay? So I'm trying to give you steps that are really simple. Follow the simple timeline. That's the whole deal. Okay. Now, this is going to be for the sauce. Okay? I like to use this kind of a frying pan because it's non-stick. Let me pull up my pants before they fall down. Okay, let me set the hot oil aside. We don't need that anymore. Okay. I'm going to lower the flame. I call it flame because I'm so used to cooking on a gas stove. Okay, here's the frying pan for the sauce. So we're going to put that like that. Put some oil in the frying pan. That's always a requirement. Okay. Now watch this. Rather than buying the garlic, smashing it, peeling it, we used to sell so much product in the restaurant in New York. We started buying the garlic already peeled. So I got into the habit of buying peeled garlic. So I don't buy garlic anymore other than this fresh stuff. And it works out fine. Okay, this is fresh peeled garlic. For a couple of pieces like that. This is what we're going to use to make the sauce. And then what I do is just chop it up with a French knife. Don't use the wrong knife. Always use the right kind of knife for what you're trying to accomplish. 1, so you don't get cut, and 2, you get the best results. Okay? Now here's your garlic. That's all you have to do. You don't have to smash it. This is it. It's good. Okay, now watch. We're going to put the garlic into the frying pan. Here we go. Okay, that's all. Now what we're going to do now is we're going to brown the garlic. Okay, I like using a wooden spoon because Grandma used to use a wooden spoon. So all you do is browning the garlic. This is no big deal. Okay. Okay, the garlic is starting to brown. I'm going to add a little more water, add a little more oil to this. Okay. All right, you ready? That's done. Now what we're going to do, once again, we're going to use a little seasoning, not a lot. I'm going to put the seasoning in with the garlic. Okay, now, the recipe calls for, Paisano makes Kalamata olives, which are Greek olives, pretty similar to the Italian olive, which is called Gaeta olives. And they make, and they have green olives in their inventory. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the olives, just so that they're not big chunks when you go to eat it. You're not going to get a big chunk in your mouth. You're just going to get a little piece of garlic. You're going to get a piece of green olive, and you're going to get a piece of this Kalamata olive, which is really nice, very delicious. Okay, so we get the olive chopped up. We're going to put them into the frying pan, and we're going to stir everything up. Okay, with the wooden spoon. Here we go. Just go like this. And we're browning the garlic. So what we're going to do now is we're going to use some Paisano imported capers. These are really, really good. Now, capers have a tendency to be salty, so don't put too much in, okay? You don't want to overdo it. Okay, here it is. I'm going to put a handful of capers, drain it off in the sink, add it to the sauce, or what's going to end up being the sauce. And now watch this. Here we go. We get the Paisano sauce, and we add it to the frying pan. You're just going to wait a little longer for that garlic to brown, because you'll get a better flavor when the garlic is brown. We're almost finished. You're almost ready to eat. Okay, so what we're going to do, the garlic turned brown, add the sauce and gravy, blah, blah, blah. This is Sicilian gravy. This is the real McCoy. This is really good stuff. I suggest you try it. You can go on our website and find out who's selling this sauce and the way you can buy it. And I was told you can even order it online and they deliver it to your house. Okay, so we're going to put the sauce in nice and gently. Okay? Now what we're going to do is we're going to gently blend in everything into the sauce. Now you got your black olives, your green olives, your capers. I'm going to put a little parsley in there. Just a little, just a sprinkle of parsley, give it a little color. Now the water's boiling. Remember what I said about timing. This is the key to the whole thing. Here we go. The water's boiling. I'm going to use penne pasta that's gluten-free. You can use any kind of pasta you want. Just be aware of the fact that when you buy gluten-free pasta, there's only 12 ounces. If you buy a product that's not gluten-free, it's going to be a pound. But I found that the 12 ounces of penne pasta is enough for 4 people with a little left over. Okay, the water's boiling. We put it in like this. And then with the slotted spoon, once again, always stir the pasta when you put it in so it doesn't stick together. That's one thing in Italian culture, to get the pasta to stick, it's a mortal sin. Because the pasta is supposed to be, let me put my pants up again. Okay, the sauce is almost ready. The pasta is cooking. Okay, so far we're looking really good. We're going to stir this one more time to make sure that they don't stick together. Okay, pasta's ready. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use a colander. In Italians we call it scullabasta. It just means to drain the pasta. All the Italians that I know will have a couple of those things in the house. We have 2 or 3 of them too. Okay, so here it is. Cool. Can't reach it. This is a pasta. Right now, put the pasta in, shake it so the water comes out. Okay. So what I like to do when we have people for dinner, I like using a wooden bowl. You don't have to use a wooden bowl. You could use stainless steel or ceramic. I find this to be the most convenient and it works better. So this is what we're going to use to mix the sauce with the pasta so we can eat it, okay? According to my recipe, add the jar of gravy and you're ready to rock and roll. So the pasta's cooking. Don't overcook it and don't let it burn. That's the key to the whole deal. Okay, that's cooking fine. This is almost ready. And I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Italians love bread. They love to eat bread with their meal. Especially when you eat a pasta like this one, Siciliana with eggplant. They like to dip the bread in the sauce after they finish. Sometimes eating the sauce with the bread is even better than the pasta that you finished eating. So here's what we're going to do. I bought a loaf of bread at the local local grocery store. This isn't real Italian bread compared to what I used to eat when I lived in Brooklyn. Because the Italian bakeries made Italian bread, had a nice hard crust, and then the white stuff in the middle we never ate. We took it out. I'm going to put this in the oven for a few minutes. Don't burn it. So when the pasta's ready, the bread will be ready, and then you got the whole routine. Here goes. And put it in the oven. If you have a timer, turn the timer on for the bread, otherwise you're going to end up burning it if you're not used to timing. Okay, the sauce is ready. The pasta is almost ready. Now, I got a spoon that's afraid of the cameras. That's what it is. The spoon is very shy. Got a shy spoon. All right, pull up my pants one more time. Okay, we're ready to eat. Here's what we're going to do now. Oh, I dropped the cover. Oh my God. That's what happens when you drink wine while you're cooking. Okay, you ready? Here's the last deal. We're going to put, I want to follow the recipe that I wrote so that way you're going to do it the same way. Everything's ready. What I like to do, of course, this is a matter of taste. I use Parmesan cheese. You buy it in the grocery store. There's a lot of brands out there. Sometimes the cheese is a mixture of cheese. And it's better, has a better taste. All right. What we do is when the pasta's cooked, I always add the cheese before I add the sauce. I've been doing this for years, and that's the way I like to do it. So I bought this stuff. It's not a big deal. Okay, here we go. Let's see if the sauce is ready. The sauce is ready. So we're going to turn the sauce off. And then with my shy spoon that keeps on falling out of my hand, we're going to see if the pasta is ready. No, not ready. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to change. Okay. Now, you probably heard everybody say when you eat pasta, it has to be al dente. Well, what does that mean? What is al dente? Al dente means teeth. So it has to be firm for your teeth. I mean, it's a ridiculous thing, but that's what they say. So the pasta is al dente, means it's not overcooked. Don't let the pasta get mushy. I'll show you how to test it. And then once the pasta is ready, you add it to the sauce, to the Italian gravy, the Sicilian gravy, and you mix it up, put the cheese on, and you're ready to go. You don't need anything else. Get the wine ready, and then get some dishwashing soap ready, because you're going to have to wash the dishes when this thing is finished. All right, here we go. Now, I only made 4 pieces of eggplant just for the demonstration. So now I put the eggplant in the tomato sauce, in the gravy. So you put it in just like this. Oop. Remember Julia Childs used to drop stuff on the floor and she used to cook with it. I'm not going to put it in the thing. Okay, here we go. So the sauce is ready. The eggplant is inside the pot. This should be ready to rock and roll here. What happened? Okay, let's see. Put the pasta, 1 piece of pasta, pull up my pants. 1 piece of pasta at a time. It's not ready yet. Still hot. It's almost ready. Don't forget the bread. Okay. Coming from an Italian family from Naples, we used to put Italian bread on the table all the time except for breakfast. And we normally don't cut the bread. You break it. A loaf of bread, 2 loaves of bread. You break it, and then you take the white stuff out of the middle. We never like that. And then we dip it in the sauce or the gravy, and it comes out really nice. And you're gonna be not only satisfied, you're gonna feel full. Okay, and you're gonna feel good. This is great stuff, wonderful taste. And this is you're not gonna get this in a regular restaurant. This is homemade, competing with grandma. And if grandma is there, let her taste it. She's gonna say it's good too. So. Okay. This is not a commercial studio. This is not a restaurant. This is my house. This is the way I cook. This is the way we've been cooking. So the reason I'm doing it this way, I want to take away the formality and the tension that people feel when they cook. This is supposed to be a very relaxed, fun thing. The only thing I did not do was turn on the music because you wouldn't be able to hear me. And I like music while I'm cooking, like to drink the wine, and then taste it. Make sure it's okay. Taste the gravy. Taste whatever you're making to make sure it tastes right. Because if it doesn't taste right now, it's not going to taste right later when you finish it. Now, here we go. Okay, you drain the pasta. When you drain the pasta, shake it, get the water off. Put it in the pot. Remember what I said before. Sprinkle it with grated cheese, just like this, okay? Put the grated Parmesan cheese on it, just like that. Don't be afraid. The Parmesan cheese will not kill it. All right, here we go. We're going to take the prepared Sicilian gravy, and we're going to put it on top of the pasta, just like that. See how easy this is? Right. Then what we're going to do, we're just going to mix everything together so all the pasta is covered. Now, another thing. When you go to a restaurant, Italian restaurant, okay, because they don't want to put the effort into it, what they do is they put the cooked pasta in a bowl, and then they put the sauce on top. No, that's not the way it works. What we used to do, we used to put the cooked pasta in a stainless steel bowl, add the sauce, mix it up, and then put it in the dish. So when you get the dish at the table, it's completely covered all the pasta. Good. All right, you ready? Here's the pasta. She's all ready. She's all mixed. The eggplant, the penne, the sauce is delicious. Now, watch this. Fantastic. And it smells good. Italian sauce, gravy, if it's done properly, has a nice smell. I always like to add a little parsley to the product before we serve it. Now, here's how we do this. Going to serve it. Always serve. What am I doing?
Yep.
Oh, this?
The bread.
The bread in the oven.
Oh, the bread in the oven, yeah. Perfect. The bread in the oven came out. I didn't burn it. The bread is nice and tan, not burnt. And we're going to put it in we call this a bread basket. It's not really a bread basket, but okay. So you put the bread in the basket, and when you're ready to serve dinner, you put it on a table like this with the hard crust, and then you break it. It's really, really good, and it's very cool. You want to see this? You do it like this. This thing is very hot, so I don't want to burn my hands. So we'll do it this way. You break the bread like this. Okay? Now, we don't normally eat this stuff in the middle. Italians don't like that. So what we do is we take the hard crust, where we dip it in the sauce, we get rid of some of that white stuff, and then you dip it in the gravy. It's fantastic. Okay, the smell is good. Half of the trick with food, it has to look good. If it doesn't look good, you're not going to eat it. This looks good. It looks appetizing. It smells good. And then when you do it with this, you're going to kill them. All right? You're going to love it. Now, here's what we do. We get a pasta. Don't serve the pasta on a flat dish. Serve the pasta in a pasta dish, like this one. You go like this. All right. So I said this will make enough servings to satisfy 4 to 5 adults. Now, you might want to stretch it and get a little more if you have kids involved. You're not going to give them a full dish like that. And then when you serve it, again, on the table, I would put just a drop of cheese on that, just to give it a little more flavor. You're ready to go. It's ready to go. You don't have to do anything else. Very simple. You could do this whole shoot and match, the whole shebang, in less than 30 minutes. Grandma didn't cook in 30 minutes. Grandma cooked on Sunday morning for 4 to 5 hours to try to get what I just showed you in 30 minutes, because they didn't have prepared sauces in those days either. Okay, this is it, and all I could say is bon appetit. Now, don't forget, this is it. This is the Bible. This is all my recipes that I think you're going to like. Some of them are really fantastic. There's one dish in here, I'm not going to tell you what it is. It's a secret recipe that we had, comes from the island of Ischia, which is in the Mediterranean right off the coast of Naples. It's really hot stuff. Every time I make this, when we have guests, they like it. I had a friend of mine who owned restaurants, a multimillionaire. He came to my house in his brand new Bentley. So I said to him, how much does that car cost? He said, $380,000. You could buy a house for that kind of money. Anyway, he came and I made this special dish for him. And he looked at me, he said, boy, this is fantastic. I never had this before. And you're not going to see it in cookbooks, and you're not going to see it in a restaurant. So if you buy the book, Amazon, you can go on our website. It'll be on there. And it's original recipes from the Via Appia. And we have the cake recipes, which are additions. So you got 21 recipes and 3 cakes. So 21 and 3, you got 24. And inside the book, you're going to get a lot of stories about what I did when I, in fact, catered to the mob. And when I catered to the mob, I give you the recipe that I used and the food that I served. And that was 50 years ago. And I still remember. I still remember what I did because it was a big deal. I had the biggest Mafia capos in New York City eating in my restaurant. Big deal. They loved the food. They gave a big tip to all the waiters and busboys, and everybody was really happy, including me. So enjoy the book. We got 2 other books coming after this one. So book number 2 will be out probably for Easter time. Okay? Enjoy yourself. Bon appetit.